Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the 2026 State of the YAYA Report.
We work for Mojo Ad, a full-service student-led agency based in the Missouri School of Journalism. We've worked with clients like Bath & Body Works, Sour Patch Kids, and NASA. We focus on the youth and young adult demographic of 18 to 24-year-olds, otherwise known as YAYAs, a term coined by Mojo Ad.
This life stage makes up more than 31 million consumers in the United States and is often overlooked by marketers. They're about to decide whether to stick with the brands they've used their entire lives or split off in another direction.
Nobody knows these consumers quite like we do because we are these consumers. As members of this elusive demographic, we serve as liaisons between YAYAs and those seeking to reach them. If marketers fail to connect with this demographic, they could lose them forever.
Over the next 30 minutes, you'll hear the three Mojo Ad teams dive deep into these three questions. What is the new American dream?
What is true knowledge?
And what is authenticity?
This year's State of the YAYA report was created using secondary research from nearly 200 unique academic and industry sources.
We then created a 52-question survey for our primary quantitative data with 718 total respondents. Our participants came from a nationally representative sample of YAYA consumers, consistent with U.S. Census demographics.
We also conducted 18 hours of primary qualitative research with 9 focus groups and 15 pair depth interviews, resulting in a total of 60 participants from across the country. We cannot wait to share these exciting findings with you shortly, but before we do, in the spirit of being good hosts, let us first introduce ourselves.
We are Team Mirage, and over the past semester, we've been busy discerning the truth hidden behind the illusion, investigating a contentious concept at the heart of America's 250th anniversary, the evolution of the American dream.
The traditional American dream used to promise upward mobility through hard work, allowing for wealth, home ownership, and having an overall safe and secure life.
However, when YAYAs think about the American dream, they're often left with more questions than answers.
Can I really just pull myself up by the bootstraps?
Is the white picket fence, marriage, and 2 kids truly fulfilling?
For centuries, the American dream has been our North Star. It's a broad, beautiful vision of success that defines who we are as a people. We want to believe the dream is still alive, waiting for us to claim it.
But is the jackpot just out of reach? To YAYAs, the traditional dream has shifted from a sure thing to a desperate roll of the dice. It's a risky bet on an unpredictable future. The American dream is no longer a promise. It's a wager.
YAYAs are playing a different game. They hedge their bets on the American dream, believing the traditional dream is now obsolete.
At the same time, they're refusing to gamble everything on a version of success that doesn't guarantee their own happiness. One YAYA said, "There's a role written for me in the American dream, but it is not the one I want."
And that feeling isn't isolated. We saw it almost immediately in our data. When forced to choose, YAYAs consistently reject traditional markers of success in favor of more flexible, fulfillment-driven paths.
For example, YAYAs are rethinking some of these traditional priorities, favoring flexible schedules over a rigid 9-to-5, chosen family over marriage and children, and passion-driven work over a high-status salary. It's not about chasing that white picket fence. It's more about choosing what actually feels meaningful to them.
There are clear reasons why YAYAs feel this way. We've grown up in a period of constant instability. From a financial crisis to a global pandemic during formative years, only to now enter a housing market where first-time buyers have dropped to historic lows.
The rules and standards to achieve traditional success are now relics of a different era, with 44% of YAYAs believing the American dream was written for someone else.
One YAYA said, "It used to be easier for our parents to buy a house, have a stable living situation, and a stable job."
A combined 67% of YAYAs see the dream in a negative light, a rare win that requires more luck than effort, a goal where the rules change as they get closer, and a game they are no longer interested in playing.
And that belief runs deep, as over a third believe that achieving the American dream is more about luck than skill. And for some, it goes even deeper, with 27% believing that the best strategy isn't effort at all, but being born into the right family.
One YAYA said, "It's an impossible standard that makes you feel like a failure if you don't reach it. Because for YAYAs, success doesn't feel entirely in their control anymore. Instead of believing that success comes purely from hard work, they see it as something shaped by timing, access, and who you know."
In fact, only 20% believe that working harder and smarter than everyone else is the best way to win. As one YAYA said it, external factors like luck, Networking and your zip code play a huge role. AI parsing of resumes means if you don't have certain keywords, you aren't even seen.
For others, it's a moving target, a goal where the rules keep shifting as they get closer. Or worse, a game they've already checked out of, no longer worth playing.
However, YAYAs don't shy away from a challenge. In fact, only 28% say they feel behind in the game, which suggests that for many, falling behind isn't the right frame at all.
YAYAs are not behind, and they certainly aren't lazy either. Because the game was one they had to play, they became strategic to keep moving forward.
Our generation hops around to get pay raises every couple of years. If you don't learn and you don't earn, it's time to go.
And instead of treating social media as part of the game, YAYAs are reclaiming it as something personal. They no longer want social media to define who they are or what they're becoming. In fact, most YAYAs do not view social media as something they need to leverage to move forward.
Only 13% see their online presence as an investment in future opportunities, and just 7% believe they'd fall behind if they didn't post their wins on social media. Unlike previous generations in the digital space, YAYAs are pulling away from the expectation to constantly post a version of success online.
And it's not just a reluctance to post about career success, it's about perception too. In fact, our research indicates social media may be losing its edge. Only 10% say they post as a way to signal to others that they're on the right track.
As one YAYA put it, I care too much about my personal privacy that I could never be someone like an influencer online.
Because to them, that lifestyle isn't the goal, it's the exception. I don't think I'd want to live like a Barbie doll influencer. I would be scared of what that would do to my values.
And 83% say their ultimate win is a life that feels real, with their successes kept mostly private. At the core of it all, YAYAs are chasing fulfillment over visibility.
Social media is low priority and low risk. Only 5% say they'd feel anxious about losing their competitive edge if they deleted it altogether.
So while it's often assumed that visibility leads to opportunity, YAYAs aren't buying into that game. For them, privacy is a strategy, one of the few things they can fully control.
And that same preference for control extends beyond social media. YAYAs hedge their bets in real lives too, choosing paths like living with friends or roommates and working hybrid or remote roles rather than traditional setups.
71% say living with family or roommates is a strategic choice, not a failure.
And 62% believe a hybrid or remote role gives them the freedom to build a life outside of the office.
The chips keep falling, and when the game feels out of their control, YAYAs adjust how they engage with it rather than trying to keep up with every move.
YAYAs turn to what they can manage, their health, mindset, and overall well-being. As one YAYA put it, if I had my mental health sorted out, I'd feel better about starting a family. I feel supported by my friends, but not by the world.
They face pressure to be constantly productive, enduring the threat of burnout, hoping that the pursuit of success is worth that risk.
We found that a third of YAYAs feel pressure to perform a busy life, even when they're burnt out. But when the burnout hits, YAYAs get strategic with grounding techniques to keep them in the game. In fact, 93% of YAYAs incorporate these strategies into their daily lives. They protect their peace, romanticize their life, practice the let them theory, and embrace slow living.
That mindset reflects a broader reality. 40% say if their health slips, everything else becomes harder to keep up with. And only 21% of respondents would ignore health issues because other monetary obligations feel more urgent.
And for YAYAs, this isn't just about discipline. It's about grounding themselves. It's choosing to take care of their health now instead of waiting for a future where they finally have the time.
And that urgency comes from a place close to home. Many YAYAs grew up watching their parents chase the traditional American dream, often at the expense of their own experiences.
So we are choosing to do it differently. Instead of sacrificing ourselves for success, we're being more intentional about how we show up, recognizing that our health is one of the few things that we can actually control.
For YAYAs, staying grounded is how they stay in the game. One such YAYA said, "The American dream kind of symbolizes that there's a non-zero chance that you can accomplish anything. It's always in the air, and it's always possible."
Now, the goal isn't to reject traditional success entirely, but to pursue it just enough to find a place where they can eventually slow down and prioritize life over work.
But what does personal fulfillment look like to Yayas? Is it travel, pay time off, freedom, or the ability to seek out experiences on their own terms?
Just over half see a job simply as a tool to fund the life I actually care about, while 64% say it's more important to be able to live a life not defined by traditional milestones.
One Yaya said, "I'm chasing the dream of not having to run away from the nightmare anymore."
Once Yayas have found their safety net, they fold. This is where fulfillment really shifts.
In fact, 59% say that if they suddenly had total financial security, the first move they would make would be to seek out those experiences that they've had to put on hold.
And if given a completely empty schedule, 45% say they would use that time to remember who I am when I'm not being productive, while only 3% say they would feel lost or restless without obligations.
But that freedom isn't entirely comfortable. 32% say they would still feel guilty if they weren't using free time to improve their status or income.
It's clear that Yayas are still rooted in hustle culture. They crave time for experiences, but are conditioned to fear what happens when there's too much of it.
But the traditional markers of the American dream haven't disappeared. They've just been reframed. Only 18% see settling down as a risk to personal freedom. So fulfillment isn't one size fits all.
For some, it's building an ordinary life, settling down and starting a family, especially since the majority of Yayas disagree that an ordinary life is no longer enough because of what they see online. For others, it's traveling the world, building their fitness, and even taking on new hobbies. But for most, it's about having the choice.
The new American dream isn't constant striving. It's reaching stability, then coasting into a life centered on personal experience, identity, and meaning beyond tradition.
Yayas are rewriting their version of the American dream to fit with the reality that it is no longer a guaranteed win or even a fair game. It's a wager with shifting rules, unpredictable odds, and a payout that doesn't always feel worth the risk. But Yayas aren't walking away.
They're remaining at the table to stay afloat and protect what they can control.
Most importantly, they're redefining what winning actually looks like.
Their ultimate prize isn't status, visibility, or wealth. It's stability, peace of mind, and the freedom to live a life that feels real and secure on their terms.
The new American dream is not about hitting the jackpot.
It's about when to fold and walk away with something that actually feels like a win.
Are Yayas all in?
Is this merely a coping mechanism?
Is it a way to survive the wager?
The truth isn't hidden. It's something they're still discovering.
And hope keeps Yayas rolling the dice.
Thank you for listening to Team Mirage dive deep into the new American dream. Next, we'll hand it off to Team Parallax with What is True Knowledge?